Once you found that new home here in East Tennessee, the very first thing you're going to do is a home inspection. And in this video, we're going to cover what home inspections are, what they're not, 3 must-do inspections we believe you need to do, and more. Let's get to it. So to begin with, let's talk about what is a home inspection. Well, a home inspection is very simply this. It is a professional evaluation of your home inside and out. The goal of a home inspection is not for the inspector to pick the home apart and find every scratch and every nail pop, but the goal is for him to identify any unknown safety hazards, structural issues, those types of things that may affect your ability to move forward in your purchase or your desire to move forward in your purchase. So what I would say is to think about a home inspection as your opportunity to just better understand what you're buying and feel more comfortable that you're not going to have any significant surprises once you've closed on your new purchase. Now let's talk about what are home inspections not for. I have a lot of folks when we initially start talking about home inspections that believe that if it's identified in the home inspection as any type of issue, then the seller is required to fix it. Listen, first of all, the seller isn't required to fix anything in a home inspection. The home inspection is done 100% to the benefit and for the benefit of the buyer, just so they have an understanding of what they're buying and to make sure there's nothing in that home inspection, like we talked about, that makes them want to move on to another home. So they're not obligated, but that doesn't mean they may not be willing to fix certain things that are identified that they didn't know was an issue and we didn't know was an issue going in. And that happens on almost every home out there that we work with. But I don't want you going into the process assuming that they're going to fix everything in a home inspection. All home inspections are thick. You're going to get 20 pages of things that are wrong with a home, or 30 or 40. And at the end of the day, the home's 20-year-old. It doesn't mean it's a bad home. It may be a fantastic home. It just means it's been lived in, right? I mean, it's used. So you're going to have those items. It's very important you know that. One of the other things that we're seeing that they're not for things that we knew going into the deal. So if in the property description report, we know that the HVAC system in it, the heating and cooling system in the home, was 15 years old, but it's working properly and in good shape. When we negotiated our deal, we have to take that into consideration. We can't have a home inspection, have the home inspector come back and say everything's working fine, but the HVAC is near the end of its life, at or near the end of its life. He's going to cover himself. That's his job. But if we go back then and say, hey, we need a new HVAC system, this one's getting near the end of life, it's working fine, it was when we bought the home, they're not going to give you that. Same thing happens with roofs a lot of times. You see those kind of things. It's not normal in our area for every crawl space to be sealed. You're not going to find that in a lot of areas. So there's just so many things like that when you're moving from a different area, understand that construction here is different than construction there. And remember what in the first section of this video, what we talked about home inspections are for. You're looking for those big items. Hey, look, we will try to renegotiate some of those things that are important to you, absolutely, so that we come through this process and you do happy with your home. But I just want you to go into the process fully understanding what they are not for. If it's a code upgrade, I want to throw that in there as well, because we're seeing that a lot now. Codes change every year. Just because a home doesn't comply with a certain code today, if it complied when that home was built, if it's within code back then, whenever that was and whatever that code was, then that home is perfectly fine. Yes, it may be outside of code today. You may be coming from an area where if you sell your home, you have to upgrade everything to the current code. I don't know. That's not the way it is here in East Tennessee. It's not the way we want it to be. I'll give you an example of that. Knox County in this year, in 2025, has a new code that you have to have an automatic closer on your door between the garage and the home. So that if you open that door, it automatically closes. They consider it a safety concern. If that home was built anytime prior to that, they don't have that. But the inspector has to write that up and say it doesn't have an automatic closure on that door. That can be a safety concern. It may or may not have been code at the time. They're not going to put you a closure on the door, nor should they. Same thing happens with railings and other things at the time. So it's just very, very important that you understand that going into the process, so the process is less stressful and you understand why we're doing the home inspection. Like I said earlier, it's for your benefit, the buyer only. It is not a to-do list for the seller. Now I want to talk about 3 home inspections that I think everyone should do here in East Tennessee. So what are these 3 home inspections that I think everyone should do at a minimum? These are the suggestions you're always going to get from us if you're working with us. 1, you should always do a home inspection. Do a home inspection. They usually cost a general home inspection where the professional inspector comes out, looks at it inside and out, somewhere between $350 and $650 depending on the size of the home. It's money well spent to just make sure he can't identify anything like we've talked about earlier in this video. So a general home inspection is the first that we tell everyone that they need to do. Secondly is going to be a radon test. Here in East Tennessee, we do have radon. We see it, I see it. It appears to me to be in 25 to 30% of the homes that we go in. And radon is odorless. If you don't know what it is, you can look it up. Long-term exposure to it can cause cancer over time. So it's one of those things you need to know is there. You don't know it's there. There's no way to know without having a test. That test usually runs anywhere from $150 to $200 or so, and it's well worth it. It takes a couple of days for the testing equipment to set in the home, and they test it. The great thing about radon is it's not hard to mitigate. So if there's an issue in the home, we can normally work that out with the seller through that inspection process, get a mitigation system put in. It's not overly expensive to do. Home will be great. It can be retested after that, and it should be just fine. But we suggest everyone do a radon test. And I know some of the folks that are moving here are coming from areas where you don't have that. So no matter whether you're using us or someone else, if you're buying a home in East Tennessee, get the home inspection, get the radon test. The third one that I think you should always do is a termite inspection. I don't care if it's built on slab, I don't care if it's built on a crawl space, I don't care if it has a basement, doesn't matter about the foundation, get a termite inspection. They're usually $80, $85. It's money well spent. If there's termites there, very seldom do we see homes where there's significant damage, but we do see homes where they will find termites. Once again, it's a negotiation to work with the seller to get those things treated and taken care of before you move in, then you don't have to worry about it. So those are the 3 types of inspections that we suggest everyone do. A general professional home inspection, have that inspector also do the radon test, and have them schedule you a termite inspection. Those 3 are the 3 basics. Now, there are others. Okay? There's a lot of others. A lot of times it depends on the home or if the home inspector identified things that we need to look further at. So for example, if the home is on a septic system, we normally suggest that you do a septic test or have a septic inspection done. There's different types of those, from dye tests to where they take the top off, all the way down to where they can run cameras through the system. So normally you want to do some type, and you can talk to your home inspector about that, but some type of septic inspection if it's on a septic. If the home happens to be on a well, you want to have a well test. Maybe the well needs treated. You just want to have a well test to make sure the water's good and clean and there's no issues there. If the home inspector were to identify some things that, we look at, they're real concerns, maybe there's a foundation crack that's a real concern to you, then maybe we want to get a structural engineer to go out and look at the home or whatever. So there's a lot of inspections. I don't want to give the impression that that's where you would stop at, is just with those 3, but I do believe that everyone should do those 3 home inspections every time they're buying a home. Those are 3 that I'm always going to do when I buy a home. I think they're very, very important. So what happens once the inspector's done with inspections? Well, this is probably for another video, but we always encourage you to try to be at the home when the home inspector's finished. And the reason we do that is that way the home inspector can kind of go over his findings. He's not going to go into detail on everything he found, but you can ask him to kind of give you a summary of any of the things he felt like were fairly significant issues that you should be concerned about. The buyer's agent, us, we are not the person to tell you what you should or shouldn't be concerned about. Okay, we're here to help facilitate home inspections, but the home inspector is the professional. So you need to talk to him about what he found, what he considers to be a big deal, why he considers that, does he see it often, all those kind of good things, and let him show you on site what some of those things are. When you get this home inspection report, that's a 1/2 inch thick and there's just pictures in there, it's really hard to understand sometimes what the home inspector is talking about. But if you're on site with him when he's finished, he can go over those, he can show you what that is, he can show you why that is or isn't a big concern. So we always encourage, once that's done, that you meet the home inspector on site near the end of the inspection and let him go over a summary of his results. We feel like that is very, very important. Like I said, our role as real estate agents is not to be the home inspection professional. It's not to be there during the home inspection. First of all, the home inspector doesn't need us walking around behind them, but we are, for many reasons, some legal, we don't need to be there. So This is something that you will work with directly with your home inspector, and it's the reason you want a home inspector you feel like you can talk to, is willing to have that conversation. And if you're hiring a home inspector, you want to ask him, if I'm there at the end of the inspection, will you go over your results and show me any major concerns that you feel like I should have? Very, very important. We're here to help facilitate that process, facilitate you finding inspectors for different things, but we're not the person that's going to go over that home inspection with you. So in conclusion, home inspections, they are for the benefit of the buyer. They are to find major issues or anything that may keep you from moving forward. Doesn't mean we can't try to negotiate for some repairs or maybe even price reductions in lieu of or whatever. We will work through that process with you, but they're not there so that when you move into the home, you're going to be moving into a brand new home if it's not a brand new home. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you find it informative. If you haven't subscribed, please do so below. There's a lot of videos on our channel also. We're putting them out every week, trying to give you good information as you move to Tennessee, whether you're moving here and working with us or not. We want you to have the information you need so that when you move here, the process is easy, stress-free, and you enjoy it as much as possible. If you did enjoy it, give us a thumbs up. We always love comments. Till next time, guys, can't wait to see you around Knoxville really soon.